Hi everyone and welcome back to the Colour Cave where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem and today's video is a little bit more serious. Recently I was browsing on eBay. I was actually looking for Lego, but that's another story for another time. And I came across a set of 72 Prismacolor pencils that were new and sealed, and the price seemed really good. I was instantly suspicious, but I decided to buy those pencils just to see whether my suspicions were unfounded or not. Now, I appreciate that this video may not be of use to people in the US, but for anyone outside of the US, Prismacolor pencils are quite expensive to buy, and to think that you're getting a bargain is very tempting, and it turns out that these pencils were fake. So today my plan is to show you all the things that I found when I opened up this tin of pencils to give you an idea of what to look out for if you are trying to buy a set of Prismacolor pencils at a good price. There are lots of legitimate eBay sellers that sell genuine Prismacolor pencils, but if you haven't used them before, maybe it's something you were looking to try out, or if you're just trying to top up your supply, it's very tempting to go for the cheapest price that there is. And my rule of thumb is if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So in this video, I'm going to show you everything to look out for when looking at Prismacolor pencils to make sure that you're getting the genuine article. I have been back in touch with the seller, who has been very understanding, who was also completely unaware that they had bought counterfeit pencils themselves. The seller had bought them in bulk, again got a good deal on them, and was distributing them via eBay sealed, so he hadn't actually looked at the pencils, and he also did not know what to look for when looking for counterfeit pencils. So I really hope that this information is helpful. Again, I'm not saying that eBay is absolutely rife with fake pencils, that's not what this is about, but it's one of those things that I just feel it's important information to share because it may be of use to you in the future, especially if you're new to Prismacolor pencils. The other catalyst for this was I was on a Facebook culling group, and I was amazed at the number of new colorists who tried Prismacolors and didn't like them and said that they weren't nearly as soft or as rich and pigmented as everyone had said they'd been, and I suspect that some of these people may have picked up a cheap set of counterfeit pencils. Very informative video today. I hope that you find it interesting, and I hope that some of you might find it helpful, or it might stop you spending money. Now, just for transparency's sake, I paid £60. I paid 59.99 Great British pounds for these pencils. I'm going to put up here what the going rate for a set of 72 genuine pencils is, just so you can see the price comparison. The prices are fluctuating a lot, so that's why it's easier for me to put it up here. Right, let's get to top-down view and we can talk about fake pencils. So I'm just going to start from the beginning here, and at first glance this looks like a legitimate tin of the Prismacolor Premier 72 set. You can see that the metallic parts of the design on the box are very shiny, but when you actually look at the image in the background, it's very poor quality and it's a lot darker than it's supposed to be, and it's the same with these pencils that have been put on the front here. This should be bright and vibrant, not unlike this here. So I know these aren't the same tins, but if you see them side by side, you can see the difference, especially here with these pencils that have been photoshopped in at the front. That is your first clue that all may not be as it should. The second thing that's usually quite a good giveaway is that when you open your tin of Prismacolors, Prismacolor will always send your pencils in colour order. It doesn't matter what size of set you can get. Now, as you can see here, if I just take these layers off, because this is a 72 set, so there's 3 layers, and you can see that they are not, this section looks as if it might be in some sort of order, but the bottom set is definitely not. Now, one of the first things that struck me when I opened this particular box was the gold pencil, because it seems to be sitting up in the tin, and if I grab a hold of it and start to turn it, you'll actually see that there's a bend in the actual pencil. It's actually banana shaped. It goes like this, and it's not immediately obvious, but if I take a pencil from my own set and stand it side by side, You can see that I'm holding them together at the bottom part there. This one is bending away. Can you see the gap of the coloured pencils in behind there? Yeah, that in here. This is a very, very bent pencil. So that was kind of the first real giveaway. The other thing that I noticed straight away was the points on these pencils. They have not been sharpened equally, and there is hardly any of the core showing at the top. If I just show you there, I have not touched these pencils obviously, and there is very, very little core. Now traditionally when Prismacolor send you their pencils, they don't have a very long point on them. It is a short and stubby point, but it is sharpened actually to a point, or they're not sharpened at all, not this in between. The other thing that I noticed as well when I opened this set was the actual wood that's showing, the cores that are showing. This does not look like consistent quality wood casing. And that's very, very difficult to show on camera because obviously the wood does change. It's not going to be absolutely uniform for every pencil. Here is a factory sharpened Prismacolor. So you can see what I'm saying by the amount of core that's showing and the fact that it is sharpened to a point. And if I compare it with one of the ones that has come in this box, you can see the difference there. This one has a flat top on it, this does not. And you can also see that, and these two pencils show that perfectly. If you look at the difference in the wood colour in this core part here, this is a sort of pinky tone to it, whereas this one here, which is the genuine Prismacolor, has much, much more uniformity. And as a set, when you see them like that, that's something that's very, very obvious. So that aside, that's your first clues really that you may not have some genuine pencils. The next thing to look at, and on the physical side of things, and it's usually the best way to tell, is if you lift one of your pencils and tip it on its end and look at the diameter of the core in the middle of the pencil. Now this is difficult if you don't have a genuine Prismacolor to compare it to, but one of the reasons that Prismacolor are able to get away with such a soft pencil is they make the core size slightly bigger, and that's just to help slow down the breakages because these are quite soft, crumbly pencils. And again, if I just hold these up end to end, the core takes up much more of that whole pencil than the one that has come from this counterfeit set. You can see the core in this pencil is much, much smaller, therefore it's much thinner, much more prone to breakages, and that is also why we get this difference in the sharpening here, because there just isn't as much of the colour in the actual pencil. Moving on then to other appearances that can give you a clue that they're not genuine pencils, and you can see I've got loads spread out here, these ones don't count, is the actual paint colour on the barrel. Now, again, if you don't have pencils to compare them to, this can be really, really difficult. But I've paired some off here of various colours, and I'm going to start with the browns because they're the ones that show up on the camera. Obviously, this little short pencil here is mine, and this is Ochre Brulee, which is burnt ochre, which is PC943. So you can see that barrel colour there. It's like a light milk chocolate colour. This is the pencil that came in the tin, burnt ochre PC943. And it is significantly lighter in colour than its genuine counterpart. It doesn't matter what way I tilt that in the light, this pencil is a lot lighter, and that is the counterfeit pencil. And unfortunately, in this set, they've not done a very good job of colour matching. This one in particular makes me laugh. This is supposed to be terracotta. This is my terracotta pencil here, the short one, and this is what they are calling terracotta, which looks kind of like it should have been like one of the other browns. It's just funny. Okay, yeah, so you get the idea. Another stark one that I found as well. Mine is very, very short now. But this is yellowed orange, and this is the counterfeit yellowed orange, and it looks more like the sand colour pencil that you get. So that's another thing that gives away just from outward appearances. Now I'm keeping some of these aside because I'm actually going to swatch them out and show you which is the dead giveaway, but you know, you can keep your eye out before that. If we look at the writing now, I've deliberately picked here a pencil of mine that I don't use very often, which is Ultramarine, because it's got the length on it. And here are the two side by side, and once again the counterfeit pencil is actually bent. It's poking up the way like this. Now this takes a good eye, this particular observation, but I have these side by side. So here are two with the cores side by side as well. This is the genuine Prismacolor core, and you can see again, this not only is it darker, but it's a lot smaller as well. And the diameter of this pencil is actually smaller overall, including the wooden casing, than the one in my on my right here. If we look at the writing on these, the first thing that I notice about the counterfeit pencils is that the silver writing is overly shiny. So the counterfeit pencil is on the top and it's so shiny it's almost difficult to read. It's almost too shiny. And also the placement of the stamp where the colour code is down at this bottom end sits much further towards the end of the pencil than the genuine ones, and that is very, very slight, but you can see when I hold them side by side and they're matched up at the bottom there, I have lined them up at the bottom, the counterfeit pencils seem to be stamped further towards the end. In addition to that as well, they've done a good job of trying to copy what, you know, the lettering and the font and everything that's used. But if you move up to the actual Prismacolor logo, the lettering is much, much slimmer. It's a much bolder font on the genuine pencils than it is on the counterfeit. And again, I'm struggling to show you the counterfeit one because it's so shiny. And the letters in the word Premier are much larger as well, and they're also not in bold print. So that's two things just on the printing on the barrel that gives it away. So I'm just wanting to do some colour swatching now just to show you the difference in some of the colours as well. Now this sometimes makes people doubt themselves as well, because some of the colour matches are very, very close, others not so much. So I'm going to start here just with this pair I had. So this is the yellowed orange. So for those of us that know Prismacolors well, the thing that we really like about them is that they're very soft and they feel very smooth and buttery under your hand, and you can do lots of smooshing together and lots of layers. I'm deliberately doing this on cheap recycled paper because the paper has a little bit of texture, and that is allowing me just to build up some layers there. And you can see that with the genuine pencil we're getting a really nice vibrant colour there. We're able to layer it up, layer it up, layer it up, no problem at all. And it's taking up most of the texture of that paper. You know, we can fill it right up and we can get this nice vibrant colour. And we can also fade it away without it getting scratchy. This is very, very soft, there's no gaps, and this pencil does not feel hard under my hand at all. And this is where I felt there's an important part of the video, because by looking at pencils you can't always tell, but you can certainly tell by feel, and that's one of the things I describe a lot. I'm a very tactile person with things like that. Now if I go to the counterfeit pencil, I'm not getting the same colour payoff and I'm not getting the same laydown, but you can also see that this is an entirely different colour. So I'm going to keep going and just build this up. Now to be fair, this does feel quite smooth, but I'm not getting the colour load that I got from the Prismacolor, and that is me, you know, layering up, layering up, layering up. Look at the difference, and that's not taking any more pencil now. Far fewer layers, and it is a completely different colour. I'm going to go with the Terracotta now. So again, the shorter pencil, this is my genuine Prismacolor, and again, this is a really rich colour. Okay, I'm a bit saturation point there. And if we take the counterfeit pencil, once again, the colour matching is just a little bit off. This one actually feels smoother than the previous one, and the colour load seems to be slightly better, but it does not have the richness. There's nothing else coming off that now. I'm going back and forth and nothing's happening. So you're not getting the same depth of colour either. So let's grab the Ultramarines. The bendy Ultramarines. So just a reminder, because these pencils are almost the same length. My Ultramarine is a wee bit shorter because it has had some use. So this is my genuine Ultramarine here. The other thing that was just an aside that I noticed in this particular box of pencils, the paint job on the barrels wasn't very good. There's a lot with chips missing out the end like this, and that's just poor quality. That's all that is. So let's have a look at the Ultramarine and see what that does. Now I am not pressing at all, and that colour's just like popped off at the page and bumped me one on the nose. It's like punched me in the face. It's a really, really vibrant colour. Press a little bit harder now. But look how rich and deep that top section is. That is exceptional, and that's one of the reasons that Prismacolors are so popular, because you get this really rich, vibrant pigment load with not a lot of work because they're soft pencils. And here is the counterfeit, and that is scratchy. And that is quite common in blues just because of the type of recipes they use to make up blue pencils. And the same thing again, the colour is there, like they're really close. They've done a really good job, but there is much more violet in this pencil. I don't know how obvious that is in the camera, but that is, I'm not getting any more than that. It's just not happening. I haven't tried this one yet, so this is a new one. We'll see how well it matches up. So this is Process Red, or as we call it here at the cave, not Process Red. Okay, so here is mine, obviously shorter, well loved, well used, Process Red. And here is the counterfeit one. They didn't even try there, did they? Also, if I just go to the end here as well, here are our cores. Now, these look quite close in terms of size, but I can tell you that they're not, because I've measured them with a digital caliper. That's how sad I am. And this one is actually slightly off center. Now, that's not uncommon in pencils. It's one of those things that just happens sometimes, and you know, there's not a lot you can do about it. But if you consistently have a lot of offset cores in your set, you know, such as like this in a set of 72, that's a really good indicator that there's been no quality control, therefore they're not genuine pencils. So here we go, let's try with this. See, I have no idea how this is going to work out, because I haven't swatched this one out. The fake one, I mean, obviously I've swatched out the real one because I use these pencils all the time. But again, that ability to really block in that colour, look at that, that's one of the reasons why I love these pencils, and I probably don't use them as much as I should do. But really deep rich colour. Again, this feels much scratchier, it doesn't feel smooth going down. The pencil's making more of a noise going across the paper as well, like you can hear it back and forth. You don't get that as much with this one. And again, if you look at the paler parts, the colour matching doesn't look too bad. But this is coming out more of a rose pink, and this is where it falls flat. Like really flat. It's like someone's muted the colour and turned down the saturation and the contrast on the TV. Even if I go back and forth, just concentrate on that one bit, I can't get anywhere near what I've got over here, not even close. So that's really the final test. I mean, these just look like washed out versions of the genuine pencils, which is basically what they are. That's basically the short and skinny of it. I find it painful that people may see a set of these on somewhere like eBay and think they're getting a really good deal, when the fact of the matter is you're absolutely 100% being ripped off. Prismacolor pencils are expensive in the UK, and you know, many of us, including myself at one point, were looking for the cheapest place to get them. I also found these two beauties in this set as well, and again, Prismacolor would just not let this happen. If this happened in transit, there would be remnants of the core would be kicking about inside the actual tin, and they are not, because I've emptied the entire tin out. There is nothing in here. These have been packed like this and shipped like this. Prismacolor would simply not accept that. Again, sometimes you would get a tiny bit of crumbling on the tip, but if that was the case, it would be minor, again, because Prismacolor sharpen their pencils before they put them in these tins. They would not arrive in this state. And this one's actually split right down the side here as well. It's split down to where the paint starts. So yeah, There's plenty more bent pencils as well. I've just found another one. 50% cool grey. It's like a freaking banana. Well, oh, this makes me laugh. Yeah, and the core looks absolutely tiny. Because it's a darker core, that's a bit of an optical illusion. Let me grab my 50% cool grey just for a giggle. Here we go. Again, well loved, well used. Two completely different coloured pencils. They actually look as if they're a step down from each other on the colour chart. Again, there's this weird chipping at the bottom of the counterfeit one. Now, I have had some of these Prismacolor pencils for a very long time, and none of mine have chips in the bottom, and they've been battered about and all the rest of it. Yeah, so I need to find a longer pencil to compare this to. Okay, so we're not comparing colours now, we're just looking at the bent pencils because it's funny. Can you see the paper through the gap? Can you? Now if I turn the bottom pencil slightly, you can see that when it's touching in the middle, everything's great, and then I just turn it a little bit and all of a sudden it doesn't want to do it anymore. God. It is actually laughable. So the moral of the story, guys, is don't buy cheap packs of Prismacolor pencils off of eBay, because this is the nightmare that you might end up with. And particularly if you are a new colorist or you are new to Prismacolor pencils, they can easily get away with this because they do look like a legitimate set of pencils. Unfortunately, they can't pull the wool over my eyes because I've been using these pencils for nearly 5 years. I know a Prismacolor when I see it and when I feel it down on the paper. So I really hope that this video has been helpful to you today. So I want to thank you very much for watching. Thanks for coming and hanging out, and I will see you back in the cave really soon for another video. Have a great day everyone, and bye bye for now.